fire. All right, special treat for you today. We've got an in-studio photo shoot with model Stephanie and styled by Deja Chanel with my co-shooter Janine. She is at Creations of J9. I will link her below, and also the website to Deja Chanel and Stephanie as well. For this shoot today, we shot a couple different models and several different styles. For this particular shoot, I'll show you one style that we shot, take you through the whole photo shoot, and then I will show you at the end, we'll go through an edit of one of the shots presented here today in Lightroom, basic edits, and then we'll take you into Photoshop to finish it up. And I will also link the original file that I'm editing here if you want to use the same file to follow along in your process as well. So let's get into it. But if you want to try that one, you can. All right. So let me, a couple test shots, Steph. And we are already pretty much dialed in and ready to go. I love it. Beautiful. So I'm gonna do full length here. We got the shot. I'm done. Beautiful. Nice, nice. Both you girls know your lines real well. Oh, these are going to be fire. Yes. All right, a couple more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right, cool. Ready?
Yeah.
Good job. Yeah. You got that thing too? I've been trying to get over something. All right, so let's do a beauty shot today. Pick this shot right here. This is Stephanie. Again, I'll link her below. Beautiful shot here. Love this fur jacket that we've got here. The necklace, the jewelry. The makeup is at Makeup by Evie G. Beautiful job on the makeup. I mean, there's not going to be a lot I have to do. Almost nothing really to the skin. Just looks impeccable. We'll just do a little bit of cleanup. The first thing I notice is the white balance. And now I was shooting with my white balance set to flash in studio. I believe we had the overhead lights turned off during this. Those will bleed sometimes into the shot, even at 5.6, 6.3 is what I was shooting here. I still notice some bleed, even though my screen says black. I still get it. Maybe it's the A7 III. I don't know. Seems like the white balance is definitely off here. So when I bring it into Lightroom, flash is 5600. So let's set it to 5600. That brings it down to what the camera was set to, and that looks a lot better. This particular room, I often set it to about 4900. That looks good too. Let me go back up to 5600. Yeah, I'm going to go back to, let's say 5,000. Let's go in between somewhere about right there. That looks about right to me. I could use the dropper tool. Let's see what happens. Pick a target. I still think that's too warm. I'm going to go with 5,000. That could be a little bit cool, but I'm liking it. The gray looks perfectly gray to me. The key here is this blue. In camera, when I was doing the shots in the room, on the video cameras, the white balance was not set properly and it looked purple. And it was definitely not a purple jacket. It's definitely a royal blue. So you want to make sure in fashion that you're getting your colors right. You want the clothing, you want your white balance to be correct. You want the clothing to be the correct color that the designer had intended. If I presented this for e-commerce and it was purple, people are going to get a royal blue fur coat, and when the image on the website is purple, and that's just not going to work. So you need to make sure your colors are correct, right? So now that we've got the white balance correct, let's go ahead and, since it's a beauty shot, what did I shoot this? I was at 75 millimeters. Normally I would have liked to use my 90 millimeter macro for these, but I did not bring it with me that day. So using the Tamron 28-75, let's crop this in, and I'm going to bring her over a little bit. I'm going to use some artistic license here, and I'm going to crop her in about to right there. And I like that. I kind of like it off to the side. I'm going to bring her over to the right just a little bit, maybe to right there. Okay, I like that a lot. So that's a pretty good crop. So the things that I notice right away, I haven't made any adjustments yet. It's pretty good straight out of camera. So the first thing I'll do is bring up my highlights just a little bit, maybe about right there to 69. Bring up the shadows just a little bit, and you can see her eyes are starting to come out a little bit there. Not as black. You can see the brown in her eyes. So that looks pretty good. I always bring the texture down. Let's just see what it looks like. To around minus 30, minus 20, minus 28. That kind of has a skin softening effect without losing clarity in your image. Vibrance will bring up to 16, 17, somewhere around there. And then I always come down, set my sharpening to around 75. The masking is always between 80 and 90. If I wanted to check it, I could hold down my option key, Alt or Option, and bring it up. The areas in white are the areas that are sharpened, and I'm at 86. It's between 80 and 90 every time. I almost don't even have to look. So that's pretty good. That's about, I could do some, brighten the eyes and things like that, and dodging and burning in Lightroom, but I always bring it into Photoshop to do that. So let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so we've got the image in Photoshop. Let's make me a little smaller here. Bring me down to about right there. That looks pretty good. You're looking at her anyway, right? So first thing I'll do, and thing I notice here is maybe get a couple spots in the hair. We'll zoom in. Maybe, the skin is perfect almost. And then there's some hair right out here that I'm going to want to clean up. So let's just go ahead and clean up the hair on the outside first. I'm going to choose the quick selection tool, this one right here, and choose select subject. It's going to do a pretty good job of selecting the subject. Doesn't get those lashes, but we're not going to really work down there in that area anyway. We're going to be working right out here. Okay. So then I'm going to right click and choose select inverse. That just selects the background. Now, since I have a pretty uniform color, gray, it's not really color, but it's a uniform shade of gray here on the background. I'm just going to use my paintbrush. Let's do a new layer. We'll hit the plus down here. Grab your paintbrush. Make sure that your hardness is set to 0%. Very important, or you might get streaks. And let's set the flow to about 20%. I've already got it at 20 from the last time I did this. And you can use your right and left bracket keys to resize if you'd like to. Mine's not working. Let me go ahead and try it again. There we go. So I'm going to get about that size. The bracket key's next to the P key on the keyboard, right and left. So I'm going to get about that size. And I'm going to hold Alt or Option, get my dropper, and I'm going to click, and I'm going to get a sample right there. And then I'm just going to start painting. And I'll get another sample up here. It's probably the same color, but it may vary slightly. So I just get a sample as I go to make sure that I'm as accurate as possible. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't want a perfect cutout. A little bit of hair is fine out here. Just want to clean it up a little bit, right? Okay. That's pretty good. I'll even leave this right here. I think, adds a little realism. All right, so let's zoom in. I didn't get it exactly perfect, and I don't mind some of these hairs coming out right here. It's fine. It's more realistic, and it keeps her from looking like a cutout, right? So we've got the hair pretty much cleaned up. I don't mind this right here. It's fine. So the next thing we can do, let's just flatten that layer. You might want to leave the layer in case you want to turn it off. See what it looked like before. Turn it back on. There's off. And there's on. So we've cleaned it up, right? I'm going to do another new layer. And just going to get some of these little details in here where there's just makeup flakes and stuff from where she was brushing on the whatever they brush on. It's a good thing I'm not doing makeup, right? So we'll get some of those. You just want to clean up some of that, some of these little differences in color in the hair, right? And then we'll come in and we'll get, she virtually has 0 spots. Look at her skin. It's amazing. We'll clean up little spots right there on the brows, right? Now this is not like one of those super duper headshot edits that you see where they spend an hour going through and doing it. I mean, she's virtually perfect. There's not a lot that I feel like I need to do, right? And we'll just get any kind of imperfections that we see. And I'm just using, I didn't mention it, but I'm using this tool right here, spot healing brush, okay? And I did it on this new layer. You don't have to. You could have done it on the layer below if you wanted to. And if I'm having really good Photoshop etiquette, I would name my layers right. So call this one hair, right? Call this one blems for blemishes, which she really doesn't have any. Okay. Control S will save it. Save as you go in case your computer crashes while you're working. You don't want to get halfway through the edit, and sometimes Photoshop will bring it back and sometimes it won't. So that's pretty good. I'll zoom in and maybe get, I never know whether to get these spots on the lips. I'm like, I don't know, is that natural, or we'll just get some of them right here. Okay, so pretty good. Oh, and then when you zoom in, you see all the details. That's pretty good. I don't feel the need to do anything else as far as blems. Pretty clean, right? So now let's go to dodge and burn. I have an action for that. You can download dodge and burn actions from wherever. I have my own that I created. They're very easy. I'm just going to use my action here. Just look on the interwebs. You'll find dodge and burn actions for free that you can download and use in Photoshop. So I'm going to create my dodge. And I'm going to assume you know how masks work and things like that. If you don't, you can, maybe I'll do a dodge and burn tutorial on how to do it from scratch. But you need to make sure when you create your dodge layer that you've got the mask selected here. And you see over here, big gotcha. I've got black as my primary color. Hit this little two-way arrow here, change it to white. Make sure that you are painting white onto the black mask. Make sure that your brush the hardness is set to 0%. There we go. Now I got my brush loaded. Make sure your brush hardness is set to 0%. Set your opacity to 100. Set your flow to 3%. And I'm not going to do a micro dodge and burn. I'm going to do sort of a macro dodge and burn, a real quick dodge and burn. So I'll set it to 5% on the flow, right? And I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to create a black and white layer too. You can just do that. I have an action for that. You can come down here, and I believe there is a black and white that you can create right there with your adjustment layers. And the black and white just helps you see the shadows and highlights a little bit better. Bring the reds down, and that helps you see them even more, right? So I'm going to come back down, very important. Select the mask, the black part here. Make sure you've got your brush chosen. Make sure it is set to white, okay? Make sure that your flow is about 5%. And really all I'm trying to do here is come in, and I feel like the 5% is way too high for some reason. So I'm going to undo all that. I'm going to set it to about 2%. Check that brush again. Make sure the hardness is 0%. Okay, I'm just going to try to, there we go, sort of even out or lessen the transition between some of the shadows and the highlights, right? And then I'm going to hit some of the highlights as well. And we'll go and we'll do some burn as well here. So I'm just kind of lightening this transition from the light to the dark. And you can do that a little bit with frequency separation, but I'm going to do it with dodge and burn here a little bit first, right? Like I said, this is a macro dodge and burn, so I'm going to hit this highlight here. Trying to lessen this transition here. And I'm going to hit this highlight right here. And here, and then she's got them right in here too. Now I may bring it up a little bit to like 5% for some of these brighter areas. Like right in here, right? And right there. And on the lips, right here. And right there. And then I can come down. I'm going to bring it back down to about 2%, 3%. Come down, maybe hit some of these areas here. Okay. Now we're going to do, I see maybe I may want to burn in there just a little bit. Let's do a burn. I'm going to create a burn layer. Make sure that the mask is selected. And right in here seemed a little bit uneven. Wanted to kind of even that out with the burn. Pretty good. I'll burn this here. Some of these darker areas, right? And maybe right in here just a tiny bit. Pretty good. I'll go back to dodge. Get the bridge of the nose here. Get the end of the nose. I kind of float around between dodge and burn. I don't do a lot of burning. I will with a micro dodge and burn. When you have a good makeup artist, they have a way of applying the makeup very evenly. It takes the lighting very evenly, and it makes your life a lot easier in post. You can see there's not a lot I have to do. So I'm going to turn off the black and white. I'm going to group, hold down Shift, select the top and the bottom. That selects all three of them. Hit Control G. I'm going to create a group out of the dodge and the burn. I'm going to turn it off. There's it with it off. There's it with it on. So I'm going to bring the opacity down just a hair to like 80%. Off, on. So we just kind of brightened up the highlights mainly just a little bit. Now I'm going to come back up and do another dodge layer because I'm going to hit the eyes, the irises. Here I'm going to set the flow to 20%. It's probably too high, but I can always bring the opacity down. Right? Try not to hit the pupils, the black part. Trying to mainly just hit the highlight here. So, I mean, that's pretty good. I could do a frequency separation, and the one that I downloaded is from a guy named Phlearn, Phlearn. You can go to his channel, and he's got a frequency separation action, and I've always used it. felt no need to create my own. His works great. So I continue to use it, and I'll give him credit for it because he did a great job. Select with your, you can download frequency separation actions on the web as well. Load those into Photoshop. It's just another way of easing the transitions between the lights and the darks using frequency separation. You come over here, you select the skin, you set your radius for your blur, which you want the skin to be about completely blurred. So that's completely blurred right there. Hit OK. And now you've got, if I turn off the texture layer, it's completely blurry. And I find this easier to use because when it's blurry, because I'm going to use the mixer brush tool. Come down here to your toolbar. If you don't see it, it's down here, mixer brush tool. Might be up here in your brushes. I'll move me back over. So with the mixer brush tool selected, make sure that you've got the blur layer selected here, or the lower frequency layer. The texture layer is off. If I turn it on, you can see it's texture again. And what I'm trying to do, I've got my custom settings: wet 30%, load 30%, mix 90, flow 5%. I'm just going to start kind of hitting some of these areas right here, and you can see how it kind of smooths them out, right? Smooths out some of the transitions between the darks and the lights. And I'm just hitting the transitional areas. I'm not doing the whole face, right? That's where it starts to look like plastic when you kind of go overboard with the frequency separation. So we're just kind of blend the transitions a little bit. And that is all I feel the need to do. So turn the texture layer back on. I'll turn the whole thing off. And you can see it's very, very subtle, but it does sort of, you lose a little bit of contrast, but it sort of just blends the highlights and the shadows just a little bit better, right? I'll turn it off again and back on. Very subtle, and I may even lower the opacity a little bit to like 80%, just to lower the effect, because I want it to be very subtle. And that is pretty much it for my beauty edit. She was already darn near perfect. Great job by Evie G here from San Antonio, makeup artist. Fantastic job. So made my work very easy. I will hit Control S and save that. And that is it for today's beauty edit. Thank you for watching. Please give a like if you liked it. Subscribe if you're so inclined. I've got a small channel. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great day.